We all know that, how uncertain is the life of human or any other species on the Earth, but do we really know that how uncertain is the life of the Earth in this universe? Earth is just one planet in the solar system, the Sun is just one of hundreds of billions of stars in the galaxy, and there are hundreds of billions of galaxies in the observable universe. The science is much less settled on how and when does the Earth end. We are not even sure if the Earth will come to a firm, defined end, or just slowly tail off. In this video let us see how much safe the Earth is and how uncertain our life is on the Earth. We are trying to cover some possibilities that can affect or destroy the existence of the Earth and existence of life on the Earth. What happens if the black hole is coming near to our solar system? There are planets, hundreds of moons of these planets, thousands of asteroids, and billions of comets orbiting our sun make up our solar system. Just think, if the black hole is coming towards our solar system, what will happen? Black holes are not exactly holes. They are a large amount of matter that has been crammed into a very small space. It is so compressed, so it gives them an incredibly strong gravitational pull. Even light cannot escape from black hole's grasp. When the black hole made its way through the solar system, it would disrupt the orbits of all the planets. What would happen to the Earth in this gravitational mess? The black hole would start affecting the Earth, even from a distance. First, it would pull us out of the habitable zone, and we are very sure that humans might not be ready to adapt to this change. When the black hole will approach the Earth, it would cause the cracking of the planet's crust. Extreme earthquakes and volcanic eruptions would occur. The ocean tides would be devastating. When the black hole passed Earth's orbit, there would be nothing left on the Earth. Only sterile surface paved with magma will be there. Earth would be ejected from the solar system, and that would probably the best, because, when the black hole got close enough to the sun, it would start sucking up the sun's flaming gas, and pulling center of gravity of our solar system into its insatiable stomach. These are not the only effects would be. The Earth would be torn and shreds, and in the end it would be consumed by the black hole with entire solar system. This might be just one more way for Earth to come to the end. What happens if the Earth stopped spinning? The Earth spins at its equator, 1,000 miles per hour as it orbits the Sun. What would happen to us and the Earth if the Earth suddenly stopped rotating? We all know that, without this rotation, life wouldn't be possible on the Earth. Alignment and rotation were changed and the Moon was formed. Since then the Earth's rotation has been slowing down. The Moon used to spin faster than it does, before it became tidally locked with the Earth. Tidal locking is the situation when a moon or planetary object's orbital period matches its rotational period. In early age of our solar system, both the Earth and the Moon rotated independently of each other. After that, the Earth's gravitational force grabbed onto the tidal bulges, and slowed down the rotation of the Moon. To compensate for the loss of momentum in the system, the Moon drifted away from the Earth to its current position about 230,000 miles away from the Earth. Moon has the same impact on the Earth, and those same tidal forces that caused the tides on Earth are slowing down the Earth's rotation slowly, and the Moon is continuing going away a few centimeters a year to compensate. When the Earth just stopped spinning, planet of the Earth rotates at the equator, roughly 1,000 miles per hour. Sudden pause would cause everything on the surface of the Earth to suddenly move at a speed of over 1,000 miles per hour in a sideways direction. Velocity needed to escape the Earth's gravity is over 24,800 miles per hour. Everything would stay tacked to the Earth's surface. Everything suddenly moving across the planet at 1,000 miles per hour. Everything would experience a sideways deceleration of 3/4 of the Earth's gravity. Suddenly down would be at an angle of 38 degrees from vertical. The force of suddenly stopping would rip buildings right off their foundations, and send them flying across the ground with anything else that isn't solid bedrock, destroying everything in a giant and deadly debris path. That's not all. This would also include the oceans, which would suddenly slosh sideways across the planet, with waves being miles and miles high, moving at the same velocity. This tsunamis would be so high we couldn't see the top. this wall of water racing towards us at 1,000 miles per hour. The Earth would stop spinning, the atmosphere would continue to spin at the Earth's same velocity as well, which would create very high winds and very nasty storms. Inner core of the Earth is spinning at a faster rate. Just because the surface has slowed down doesn't mean the core of the Earth has stopped. To our highly volcanic planet might erupt in ways we never imagined as the tectonic forces above and below enter into a new conflict. Supervolcanoes would likely erupt across the entire planet. Our tidally locked Earth would have half of the planet always facing the sun and the other half would be in permanent darkness. As temperatures on the dark side of the planet dropped, all water would freeze. On the light side of the planet, oceans would be evaporating as temperatures push the 212 degrees Fahrenheit mark, 100 degrees Celsius. Our planet is in what is called a Goldilocks zone or habitable zone, where it is the perfect distance from our sun in order to support life. There might still be places on Earth where the climate would be habitable. But, on the two extreme sides it might prove difficult for life to survive, assuming that anything survived the previous catastrophes. If there were any appreciable amount of life left, it would now have to survive in the twilight strip of land between the two halves. We are far enough away from our star that the part of the Earth that would be facing the sun wouldn't start to burn or turn to ashes overnight. However, the atmosphere on the hot side of the planet would start to erode. The portion of the Earth always in the direct sunlight would receive more direct sunlight, resulting in more heat, and these high temperatures would cause strong rain and an increase of weathering. Normal weathering regulates the climate on the Earth. Humans are a very adaptable species that has seemed to survive other catastrophes, and even though we have powerful technology, being able to survive on a planet that has stopped spinning and is tidally locked to the sun would be a great challenge. Life is not at all possible on the Earth in all this condition. What happens if an asteroid hits the Earth? Asteroids are hitting the Earth all the time. Every day, space bombards us with around 100 tons of dust and sand. Car-sized asteroids make it to our atmosphere about once a year. They burn up in the mesosphere, never reaching the Earth's surface. The massive 10-kilometer wide, life-threatening rocks like the one that wiped out all the dinosaurs don't come by too often, maybe once in a million years. The ones we do have to worry about are asteroids the size of a football field that actually make it to the Earth's surface. Just 3% of Earth's surface is populated. That means, in all likelihood, 97 asteroids out of 100 would just plunge into the ocean or flatten an uninhabited forest somewhere in Siberia or northern Canada. Damage to humans would be close to nothing. But 3 out of every 100 asteroids would strike a populated city. Imagine seeing the 100-meter-long rock speeding towards you, traveling at 19 miles/second. When it passed unharmed through the mesosphere, it would take less than 3 seconds for it to crash on the Earth. A huge fireball would destroy everything in a 3 kilometers, 2-mile radius, and cause heavy damage to buildings within a 7 kilometers, 4.5 miles radius. Maybe it is not all meteorite that slammed near the Russia's city of Chelyabinsk. It exploded with the force of 20 Hiroshima bombs and caused around $33 million worth of damage. What we are talking about is the meteorite, 5 times bigger than that slammed on Chelyabinsk. It would not be as bad as a 10-kilometer wide asteroid hitting the Earth. In that case, the shockwave would be enough to wipe out a good chunk of humanity right away. The Earth would get a new crater over 100 kilometers, 62 miles, across, and the ring of asteroid debris would give us a Saturn-like appearance. Most of this debris would rain back on Earth, setting cities and forests on fire, and cooking everything that's not protected. Because on the surface, it would be very dusty. All this dust and smoke would block the sunlight. All the plants and most animals would die out without the sun. After about a year, the atmosphere would clear up, but there would be very little food available left for humans. And if we weren't resourceful enough, this would be the end of humans. What happens if the sun moved closer to Earth? Right now the Earth is at the perfect distance to enjoy the life-giving benefits of our sun. We are living in the circumstellar habitable zone. We sometimes call it the Goldilocks zone. It is just right for the life. Habitable zones are places where surface liquid water is likely to be discovered, which is a key element for the life. Humans need water, light, oxygen, etc. Because of the way the Earth orbits the Sun, it is never the same distance away day to day. At its farthest, the Sun is 152,095,701 kilometers away from us. At its closest, the Sun is just 147,098,074 kilometers away. If the Sun was significantly closer, then that would be a problem. Our neighboring planet, Venus, the second rock from the Sun, is just 108 million kilometers from the Sun. Surface temperatures are around 462 degrees Celsius, or 863 degrees Fahrenheit there. Nothing can survive upon Venus' blistering surface, including water. We are locked into a gravitational orbit with the Sun. Unless something supermassive came along and gave us or the Sun a good shove, that orbit will remain steady. If the Sun gained mass, then Earth would be drawn closer to it. But, being a burning hot ball, the Sun is constantly shifting mass to energy. It can't gain more. The Sun is currently around 4.5 billion years old, and in around 5 million years, it is going to reach its end-of-life phase. Before that, in 1.1 billion years, the Sun will have expanded by 10%, making its rays hotter and brighter to the Earth. In 3.5 billion years, the Sun will be 40% brighter. This is danger time for planet Earth. Even then, this will likely be enough to melt what may be left of our polar ice caps, which would mean huge floods to coastal areas, whereas hotter temperatures across the globe will increase droughts in landlocked areas. If the Sun got much brighter than that, and the flames got closer, our Earth would be irreparably scorched. First the lakes will boil and evaporate, and then the oceans. We would likely be long dead by then. When the Sun reaches the later part of its life, its red giant phase, it will expand very close to the Earth indeed. It is calculated that the Sun will swell so large that it will consume Mercury and Venus, and it is quite likely Earth would be sucked in too. Our distance to the Sun determines our seasons, ocean currents, climates and radiation on Earth. A closer Sun, in simple terms, means we would be knocked out of the habitable zone, which again, in simple terms, means death for all. What happens if Earth core cooled down? There is a scorching ball of iron surrounded by an ocean of boiling hot liquid metal that called the Earth's core. It is as hot as the surface of the Sun. But, what if this super hot core suddenly cooled down? Ever since it was formed, the inner core of the Earth has been losing heat. Every billion years it becomes about 100 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Fahrenheit, cooler. But it's still blazing hot, around 6,000 degrees Celsius, 10,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, no one has ever been to the center of the Earth. The unbearable heat is one of the reasons you don't want to get any closer to it. If only it cooled down a bit, maybe we could go and see what's inside our planet, and if all our guesses about the Earth were right. There are many things on Earth that make life possible. Our geomagnetic field is one of them. It protects us from all kinds of space radiation, including highly charged particles, constantly blasting from the Sun. The magnetic field acts as a shield and deflects them around the planet. That way, no solar winds can strip away our atmosphere, which is also an essential element of life here on Earth. This magnetic field is generated by the Earth's core. As the planet spins, the two parts of the core, the inner solid core, and the outer liquid one, move at different speeds, generating electric currents. Those currents generate our geomagnetic field. If the Earth's core cooled down, it wouldn't produce any currents. The Earth would lose its magnetic field, and no magnetic field means no atmosphere. Without atmosphere, no breathing exercise could calm us down, since we wouldn't even be able to breathe without a pressure suit and an oxygen mask. Since the frozen core wouldn't heat up rocks, water, gas, and other geological material anymore, the Earth would be getting colder and colder. Nobody could survive on that Earth for too long. What happens if Moon go far away from the Earth? The Moon exerts a gravitational pull that governs much of what happens here on Earth. Due to Moon's gravitational pull tugs on our spinning Earth, the oceans respond, giving us high tides in some parts of the world, and low tides elsewhere. While the wind gives waves their energy, tides define their shape. High tides generally yield smaller waves that take longer to break, because there is less resistance from the ocean floor. Incoming waves at low tide break faster since there's less water between the surface and the bottom. The Moon's gravitational attraction also keeps our world on an even keel. That is, it keeps us at a stable 23.5-degree tilt relative to the Sun, giving us 4 seasons and a livable climate. With the Moon go far away from the Earth, its stabilizing effect on Earth's rotation would be disturbed. The weekend just got a whole lot closer. If the Moon suddenly go far away, a day on Earth would only be 6 to 8 hours long. Over millions of years, shifting tides and their pressure on Earth's continents have slowed our planet's rotation, giving us 24-hour days. But without the Moon's strong gravitational influence, the world would spin 3 to 4 times faster than it does now. Rotating at that speed, we would experience winds up to 480 kilometers per hour, 300 miles per hour. Birds and insects would have no chance of survival. Only some of the land-based organisms like deeply rooted plants, or very short, very stout animals can survive. Most of our marine life would be wiped out since sea creatures that rely on ocean currents for survival would lose the privilege of the ocean's pull. Currents help circulate vital nutrients from the ocean floor to the surface, while flowing oxygen-rich surface water deep into sea. We'd still have tides, but they'd now be governed by the Sun. And from a distance of 93 million miles away, they'd only be 1/3 as powerful. But with the Moon go far away from the Earth then, the oceans would rip towards the Sun, creating catastrophic waves, killing thousands, and submerging coastlines. At this point, we'd have to adjust to new ocean currents, which, circulating at a slower rate, would be heating up equatorial waters, while turning polar waters frigid. These extreme differences would produce a similar effect on land as well. Since ocean temperatures influence their regional climates along with the Sun, Mars and other nearby planets could also claim a share of gravitational influence over our planet, pulling Earth in different directions, and causing it to tilt with increased volatility. Earth's axial plane would vary by some 10 degrees, causing dramatic shifts in seasons, and rendering our climate uninhabitable. Most crops would die with the drastic temperature changes. We would experience the worst ice ages known to man, as huge glaciers from the North and South Poles would encroach upon the Earth, covering everything except perhaps a small band along the equator. In this video we have seen how much unsafe the Earth is, and how uncertain our life is on the Earth. There are so many possibilities that can affect or destroy the existence of the Earth and existence of life on the Earth. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please like and share this video and subscribe our channel to see interesting videos like this. Please comment us if you want to see any interesting stuff in future.